Attack now! Push forward! Attack now! Push forward!
yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the motivator here. This is where we translate our words into action and where success is ours for the taking. And that is what you have to believe, people. That's what you have to believe. And this is going to be yet another inspirational podcast where we will inform, we will inspire, we will motivate you to action because the world is your oyster. You are the change makers. That's why these podcasts exist to help you to realize your true potential. This is going to be truly an inspirational experience. In approximately 30 minutes' time, we have the main interview, and I'm assuring you, you'll be truly informed, most certainly inspired by its content. So stay with us, stay with us, and thank you for your support. And I've received many messages from yourselves, and thank you for your support. It is truly heartwarming, and it's good to know that the messages are getting through. They're resonating with yourself. There's an understanding. Together, we can make the difference. You are never alone. You are never alone. You are not powerless. You are never alone. Praise Jah, Rastafari. Let's go forward, shall we? Let's go right into this because we've got a lot to pack into between now and the main interview in 27 minutes' time. First of all, I want to acknowledge that we've had a series of extremely successful podcasts. Podcasts that have informed and empowered people, motivated people to make a difference in their lives, their families' lives, their communities' lives. And we're proud that we will continue to do this in 2026. Okay? We will up the cadence, the frequency of our transmissions 2 to 3 times per week henceforth. So watch this space. And I wish you, please, if you haven't done so, to spread the word. If you haven't subscribed, it's free here on YouTube. It's free to subscribe. It simply tells the YouTube algorithm that this content is worthwhile spreading to the billions or so YouTube subscribers. Of course, if you haven't yet subscribed, do so now. It will really help us out. Really help us out. I want to, of course, acknowledge at least a few of our past contributors. I've always found this to be an important step forward. Despite the fact this is very much a podcast focused on personal improvement, there are a series of campaigns that the Motivator Show, the Motivator Channel, wishes and continues to participate in. The first of those campaigns has to do with women. Women who are suffering the indignity, yes, I'm going to use the term, the indignity of FGM, female genital mutilation. Yes, I'm a man and I'm talking about these subjects, yes. And I absolutely want to speak to the men who would continue to perpetrate this practice against women. Okay. I'm proud that I've met many women who are indeed FGM survivors. And those of you who are in cultures or in societies where this is not practiced, it is relevant to you also to join the campaign to rid the world of this heinous act against women. Okay. I will not stand by and remain silent. I know that what the authorities and others wish us to do, I will not do so. This is the motivator here. This is the Motivator Show, because this is where we translate our words into action, because success is ours for the taking. And that is a fundamental truth I wish you all to take on board. But the campaign against FGM, which affects hundreds of millions of women, okay, far too many women, more than 250 million women, particularly of African heritage, have had this this heinous act committed against them. Okay. We need to stamp it out. I'm fortunate that I've had women to confide in myself on the true horrors, the true impact of this practice on their bodies. It is horrific. The women may not say this to you, men. It is horrific to take a vital part away from them. It is horrific, inhumane. I personally want to speak to the men. That's who I want to speak to. I've spoken to quite a few women. I want to speak to the men who support this action. But nevertheless, there is one woman who I've worked with closely, a counsellor here in London, who is a truly remarkable human being, who is courageous enough to publicly announce that she is indeed an FGM survivor, someone we should hold dearly to our hearts and respect utterly. I want to put her details here on my screen. There we go. There you are. There you are. Her name is Councillor Naima Ali, formerly the Mayor of Southwark here in London. She is the founder of Unshackled Duma. Unshackled Duma is a London-based, indeed Southwark-based organisation, that empowers women and girls, particularly from so-called Black, Asian and minority ethnic and Muslim communities. The organisation focuses on promoting self-empowerment, autonomy and advocacy, with a strong emphasis on combating female genital mutilation, FGM. It raises the awareness about FGM's harmful effects and supports survivors and works towards eradicating the practice. We commend this campaign to you. If you wish to reach out to Councillor Naima Ali, her email address is unshackledduma, followed by digit 2, @gmail.com. It's there on the screen. It's recorded there on YouTube, so you can go back to the screen. I commend this initiative to you. It's been a humane and worthwhile campaign to enjoy. I commend it to you all. Well done, Councillor Naima Ali, and all those women who are courageous enough to speak up about this practice and actively seek its eradication from our societies. Praise be, praise be, praise Jah Rastafari. Good for you. Well done. I also want to now bring to your attention another campaign that is close to the heart of the Motivator Show, one that's affecting countries who are simply, in this case, genuine victims of those countries who are so-called developed, the industrialized countries, who have spent over a century or more polluting the atmosphere, releasing significant amounts of atmospheric warming gases. And as a result, it's rapidly changing our climate and causing the ice caps to melt, water levels to rise, and causing deserts to expand, affecting our food supply and access to fresh, clean water. Over the next 10, 20, 30, 100, 200 years, the effect of climate change will be harshly experienced by all of humanity. I say to you all, this is extremely serious. As a result of this, islands in the Caribbean are on the front line of experiencing rapid changes to their climate, now experiencing extreme levels of hurricanes. The most recent hurricane to hit the Caribbean late last year was Hurricane Melissa, hurricane category 5 with wind speed above 185 miles an hour. Can you imagine such wind speed causing significant damage, in this case to the island of Jamaica? I say to you all, climate change is real. It is definitely having an effect, and countries, peoples are being destroyed as a result of it. We must change our habits. We must create sustainable societies, therefore. But nevertheless, the island of Jamaica has been devastated, and there are people still living their lives as a result of the hurricane, lives which are much diminished, living from hand to mouth. It is an awful situation. I wish to encourage you all, if you haven't been able to give and support those who have been, well, their lives have been turned upside down, destroyed as a result of this hurricane. I urge you, if you can, give support to those people. This is not their fault. It is very much a fault of the industrialized countries. But we all can rally round. We are all human beings and support those in greatest need. And there's an organization here in Britain, and I'll put the details here on the screen for you. There you go. I'll put it on the screen for you. Hurricane Melissa Disaster Relief Fund, being led by P&P UK. They are committed to supporting the people of Jamaica. Their specific target currently to reinstate a school that was devastated by Hurricane Melissa. And if you can give, we urge you to give generously. Only give what you can, but give every little make a mocker, we say in Jamaica. In other words, whatever amount you can afford, please give. The details are on the screen, and I'll put it there for you. Here we go, put it on the screen for you. There you are. Now, the details follows. The donations to People's National Party, UK, NatWest Bank, sort code 600802, account number 298-61233. And in the reference, please use the term DRF Melissa, so it's clear as to the purpose of this donation. Again, all donations will be accounted for and regular reports will be provided. I commend this initiative to you. I commend that initiative to you. I also wish to commend a paralleled initiative, and that is, of course, the British government. Britain, of course, the first country to start the Industrial Revolution, most certainly responsible for releasing hundreds of millions, hundreds of billions of tons of atmospheric warming gases into the atmosphere, and it is a principal cause for atmospheric change, rapid change we're now experiencing, which is affecting places such as Jamaica and the Caribbean and other places. Britain, of course, therefore, has a moral obligation, if I assert. And indeed, Britain and Jamaica, he says, share the same monarch. We are kindred countries, kindred nations. Britain has offered £7.5 million in disaster relief funding. We contest that that amount is derisory. One of our principal campaigners here in the UK, his name is Lee Jasper, has produced a short video which I'll play for you, and his opinions on the British government's contribution of £7.5 million to the Caribbean, indeed Jamaica Disaster Relief Fund. Listen to what he has to say on this matter.
Hey family, my name's Lee Jasper. I'm a veteran activist here from London, England. And I just want to talk about Hurricane Melissa and the British government and the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer's response to that hurricane. Family, look, Jamaica and areas of the Caribbean are on its knees. People are desperate, homeless, unable to access medical supplies and treatment. Children are left homeless because their grandmother's house has been completely obliterated. People are unable to go to school. People have no valid forms of employment. And all Britain can offer is £7 million. I mean, it's a disgusting insult to the Jamaican community. And we should be very clear in terms of what our response should be. I'm not sure what we're supposed to say, but thank you to Keir Starmer for 7 million change. I could find more change down the back of this sofa than Starmer seems to have found for Jamaica. And just imagine, people, we spent 20 billion on war for the Ukrainians, 20 billion. And we opened our doors, as we should have done, to victims of war who needed a safe evacuation. But we have exactly the same scenario with people in Jamaica and other areas of the Caribbean, whereby they're homeless, they've got no form of valid long-term employment, they're living on emergency package. Those of us who are in the United Kingdom, who have relatives throughout the Caribbean, should be able to relax our humanitarian visa laws and bring them here so they can have quiet convalescence and respite, care and attention from their families here in the United Kingdom, whilst Jamaica is rebuilding and they can return after that. So we're calling for two things, family. I need your 100% support on this, because once all the Christmas and the emergency stuff has died away, Jamaica is still going to be in a problem, and probably even a bigger problem if the rumoured health outbreaks and epidemics break out as a consequence of lack of sanitation and clean water. And so I'm calling on you to support our petition. You might be able to see the QR code there if I just move to the side. Here is the QR code. Hope it's visible. If not, maybe I can make it more visible. Here is the QR code. All you have to do is put that into your phone and sign the petition. We also have a done one meeting in Brixton. We're doing another in Tottenham Hale, and we're having another hurricane emergency meeting in Wales, Manchester, as well as Preston. And why are we doing this, family? Because we think we need a national lobby of Parliament on Prime Minister's question time to take 5,000, 6,000 of us to Parliament to press the Prime Minister and your individual MP to increase aid to Jamaica, as Dawn Butler's already written in The Guardian to that effect, and we're fully supportive and behind that. To talk to your Prime Minister and MP and lobby them to relax the visa control. How is it that an 8-year-old child whose parents live in the United Kingdom and who was living with her grandmother in Jamaica is denied visa entry on humanitarian grounds to the United Kingdom? But that's what the latest stories we're seeing coming out of The Guardian and other news outlets. So we need a national lobby. Give Jamaica much more aid. 7 million, make that 50 million. How about that? How we make it 50 million pounds next year that the UK government gives to Jamaica to recover. Humanitarian visa restriction? Yes, so that we can give people respite. Because our family, they're our community. And we're here suffering the anxiety of not knowing we can help, but we can't get them into the country. So I'd ask you to support our call on the Prime Minister to increase aid and relax visa applications. And finally, family, this is going to happen every year with increasing intensity. So Britain and the West, as the major polluters, must pay. They must pay recompense for climate justice in those countries, or else otherwise, two hurricanes of Melissa's size in over a period of 18 months, as we saw with Beryl and Melissa, would just leave the island completely unsustainable and devastated. Britain must pay more. Britain owes more. Jamaica helped build this country, and they're giving us 7 million. Take it. And I'm asking you to organise mobilising meetings in your local community area so we can take thousands of our community in the new year to the Houses of Parliament to lobby on behalf of our people who are struggling in Jamaica. Thank you. Scan the QR code if you didn't do so already. There it is. And share the video. Peace.
What a great man, huh? What a great man. Totally committed. A man of high moral values. Thank you, Lee. We need to get him back in the studio. He's produced some other interesting work which we need to discuss. But this is live. This is people's lives at stake. It's our commitment to upholding their lives is what is at stake. Well done, Lee. And well done to each and every one of you who've been able to give and support those destitute in the island of Jamaica. Well done and thank you. And those members of PNP UK, continue your great works. continue great work. We hope in the not too distant future to be able to speak to a head teacher of the principal of a school that we hope to support to rebuild that school so it's fit for purpose, so the young children can experience positive teaching and learning. Why not, huh? Why not? Let's do this. We could do this together because together we can make the difference. In unity is strength. Good. There are many other campaigns we're involved in, but just two for now. In 14 minutes, we're going to have the important interview. We're going to look at the Battle of Adwa and its implications for Venezuela and how we all together can make the difference. But between now and then, next segment of the show, as you would expect, it's a regular feature now, and that is the all-important, crucial lifestyle messages. Lifestyle messages are included in these podcasts, these live podcasts, in recognition that far too many of us, too many of you, all of us, we're together, die before our time, indeed. Far too many are weighed down by illnesses which are actually avoidable. They are fundamentally lifestyle illnesses. Yes, the food we're eating, far too much of it, of course, is containing chemicals which are essentially poison if you are ingesting over long periods of time. Lack of exercise is a fundamental issue here in the communities in the West. A lack of exercise. And indeed, mental health continues to be a cause for concern. In particular, communities are particularly weighed down. I know most certainly people of African heritage here in the diaspora. In the Caribbean, diabetes is at epidemic levels. The Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, Professor Hilary Beckles, recorded that fact, that it's at epidemic levels, and we must do better. We must address the issue at its source. That is our lifestyle. Pay attention to what we're eating, how we exercise, how we live our lives. Don't take this from me. Take it from the expert and listen to the expert, those who devoted their entire life to promoting good health and well-being, those who are committed to your health at all times. And they are the first responders where there is a medical emergency. Listen to what they have to say on the subject. Here we have the Public Health Director for London and South East speaking directly. Expressing what is straightforward advice. And each time I listen to the words of this professor, I'm noted, this is just straightforward, common sense advice. I know. But it has to be repeated again and again, because common sense is not always with us all, yeah? Me included, I have to say. But it is clear that we have saved lives. It is clear that if we repeat what we should do in order to maintain good health and well-being, that it becomes a part of our consciousness, subconsciousness as it were. And we do not need to think about it. We simply do what is necessary to promote good health and well-being. So listen to the professor. Professor Kevin Fenton says, I'm a public health director. Here are 5 things you can do to improve your health. 1. Mindful and balanced eating. Nourish wisely. Eat whole, balanced meals with awareness to support energy and well-being. 2. Get outside. Be with nature. Time outside reduces stress, improves mood, and strengthens your connection to the world. 3. Stay curious, stay engaged, explore new interests, keep your mind sharp, build social contacts, and boost your happiness. 4. Get active, move it or lose it. Move daily, lift weight, and do cardio Exercise improves physical, mental, mood and energy. 5. Prioritize rest and sleep. Disconnect. Rest. Quality sleep supports mental clarity, emotional balance, and overall health. And there you have it. It's common sense advice. Yeah, we can incorporate as part of your consciousness. You will live longer, healthier lives just by your deliberate action. It doesn't happen because you ask someone to let it happen to you. It happens because of your deliberate action, your conscious thought processes. It says, I want to live a longer, healthier life, one that is not weighed down by illnesses. And why do we do this here on the Motivator Show? Because not only are we an information imparter, we care. We want you to be healthier. We want you to live longer. We want you to be happier. That's the purpose of these podcasts. And in doing so, we will create a much better world. Working together in unity is strength. What I'm heartened by is the numbers of you who heard these messages, understood their fundamental nature and importance to you, the individual, you, your family, you, your network, and understood if we work together, we can transform our lives together. And in doing so, we transform the world. What I'm heartened is by the numbers of you who've heard these messages, have come together in common aim and common purpose. Oh yeah, I'm going to play a short video for you, only a minute or two, of people who've come together in common aim and common purpose, who exercise together, have understood if we work together, we're more than likely to overcome many of these health challenges we experience. Because you know what it's like if you exercise by yourself, you are on your own reconnaissance, but you do it with other people. We all encourage each other. That's the way society, civilization works. Mutual cooperation amongst the citizenry. To watch this video, people have come together in common aim and common purpose, and they'll exercise together because they understand that is the best way forward. That's right. I hope you're going to get up now. That's right, yes. Get up off this chair. Just for a few minutes. There you are. Bend your knees. Come on now. Let's bend your knees together. That's right. Bend your knees. There you are. They're smiling. There you are. That's right. Oh yes, there you are. Oh, I can feel I can hear my bones speaking now. That's right. Bend your knees. That's right. Oh, there you go. More vigorous, there you are. That's right, you can make the difference. We work together, exercise together. Oh, there's Ishmael. Yeah, award-winning Ishmael. Oh, we talk about it in a moment. There you go. Wow, look at this. This is impressive, huh? They've come together, common aim, common purpose, understanding, working together, exercise together. You're more than likely to get fitter together. It becomes a truly enjoyable experience. Thinking about what they eat, thinking about what they should not eat, and ensuring they're well hydrated. There you are, she's smiling. Oh, hello there. There you are. That's right. They're big and they're small, they're wide and they're thin. Oh yeah, but they're serious. They want to maintain good health and well-being for each person. Oh yes, there you go. Hey, DJ Little, huh? God, yes, sir. There we go. Keep it up. You're making a difference. Look at that. Oh, they put their children with them as well. That's right. You start them young. Make it part of their habits. Let's take those habits into adulthood. Teach the children to recognize exercise is good. That's right. You've got it. That's right. There you go. Well done, Ishmael. Award-winning Ishmael. There you are. There you are. Oh, are you doing this, people? I hope you're not sitting down. I can see you. That's right. All right. That's right. I'm going to pause there now. There you go. Oh, yes. I was enjoying myself. Vitally important. If you haven't been able to exercise, you can't do it by yourself, but I would always recommend do it with others so you encourage each other. And that therefore means the purpose of these podcasts, its fundamental reasons, has been realized. It's mutual collaboration, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of your religious affiliation, regardless of your social status. Yeah? Working together is far better than doing it alone. Okay? In unity is strength. Okay? That's the way forward. That is the way forward. I mentioned that Ishmael there, the person who was leading those exercises, it's been nationally recognised here in Britain. We need to get him back in the studio, don't we? Have a good chat with him as to why he's committed to that exercise classes, those community exercise classes. He's a truly outstanding human being. I'll get him in the studio soon enough. Don't you worry. But what's important you take away from these messages is that if we work together, we can improve our lives together. That's how civilizations grow, right? Don't believe the nonsense or propaganda that says otherwise. You're alone, you're a lone ranger, me. I'm assuring you that is an evolutionary dead end. It's only when people come together you create civilizations. It is notable that civilizations is what has created the world we have today. People to come together, working together in mutual interest, common aim and common purpose. That's the way forward. So if you're not exercising yet, find someone else to work with and exercise together. Think about what you're eating, ensuring you're fully hydrated. Take care of your mental health. If in doubt, ask questions, seek out professional advice, and of course, take care of your spiritual well-being. Praise be, praise be, praise be. I now want to move towards preparing the way for the main interview today. We've all read and listened and viewed the actions of the United States of America in respect of Venezuela. And you don't need to be too clever to work out the actions of the United States of America has serious implications for us all. Mm-hmm. A nation that can claim ownership of another nation's natural wealth, okay, is not a nation that engenders respect. Mm-hmm. I know some parts of the United States believe that the only way to gain respect is by fear. That type of leadership has its place and has played a role in the evolution of human civilization. This is true. But history reports again and again and again it doesn't have a future. It will fail and fail catastrophically. Only leadership that actually is sustained is where mutual respect and understanding, compassionate, empathetic leadership. That's the leadership that earns the respect of all human beings. Mm-hmm. Therefore, we need to consider what happened in Venezuela. First of all, we need to understand some of the details around this because we're all exposed to a lot of propaganda. And as I've mentioned on many occasions here, that there's, like you all, we are aware of topics and issues, and we have surface level understanding. It's not until you do the research and you analyze the facts, the details, that the reality often is far different, significantly different from the realities that we are exposed to through the international news media. And Venezuela is an example of that. Absolutely. Absolutely. We all need to study this, and this podcast will enable you to start the process. The interview that I will share with you momentarily is the first part of the interview, and there are 3 parts to it. But this first part sets the scene for the subsequent parts, and you'll understand what I mean. It sets the scene. It contains vital information. We did the research so you don't have to, but we don't want you to become lazy, mind you. We want you to do the research regardless. Inquire of 2 to 3 very separate, distinct sources in order to arrive at a likely truth for yourself. Don't just simply take our word for it. Analyze, do some research for yourself. Although we've taken care to ensure the information to the best of our knowledge, once we have checked various sources, is accurate, but we still want you to verify, affirm the content you are about to watch and experience is accurate. This is not propaganda. This is factual. We've cited the Battle of Adwa because those of you who've studied history, and most certainly history of Africa, and most certainly Ethiopia, one of 2 countries in the continent that was not colonized. Okay. Very important. Yep, I paused there. I want you to just absorb that. And therefore has significant amount of its cultural heritages intact. Yes, it's the same country with the Ethiopian Tahido Church, with their Bible, which has more canon, far more content than the Bible that you might find from the Catholic or Anglican or other churches, because it has been untainted for nearly 2,000 years. Where these other Bibles have been changed and adapted for local political requirements. As a result, there are canons, there are passages in the Ethiopian Bible which are extensive and quite different from what you would find here in the so-called West. Because they are the original writings, not the amended writings that we tend to read today. I cite, and we cite Ethiopia because the Battle of Adwa was a seminal occasion. It was where Ethiopian forces resisted the insurgency of Europe into Ethiopia, but specifically Italy. It was a significant battle, a psychological turning point, which defied the propaganda that Africa was weak. This is a country, a great country, the earliest name of the continent, no less, who fought and defended their land. And there are many lessons to be drawn from that experience. But what I'm about to relate to you now, this interview, we set the scene for the substantive details that are the lessons of the Battle of Adwa. Every Ethiopian, every person of African heritage should be proud of the lessons you're going to experience. Be aware, this is untainted information. There is no propaganda here. It's simply factual. And you'll see, I challenge Kwabena, we'll see in a moment, okay, on the details. Yeah? And I expressed almost disbelief some of the content that he relayed. So we checked live during the interview to ensure accuracy. And you will see information that is astounding. So I'm just going to first of all play a minute or 2 of the intro video, and then we'll go into the main interview.
Attack now! Push forward!
Very important. We remember. We have not forgotten. Now it's time for you to watch this recording. Here we go. Ah, we're here again. This is the Motivator Show. Oh, yes, you see him. I'm going to come to him in a second. This is the Motivator Show. This is where we translate our words into action and where success is ours for the taking. And this is going to be yet another inspirational podcast. We're going to address the issue of the day. Yeah. Venezuela. What it means for us. Mm-hmm. When I say us, I mean people of the Caribbean, the Americas, and Africa. What it means, what is significance, what are they not telling us? What should we take from this experience of what's happened in Venezuela, both to their leader, Maduro, and indeed what's happening on the high seas? There's much we need to discuss today, but we're not going to discuss it from the point of view of the big media corporations. All right, let's make it clear. This is going to be very much from an African perspective, okay? Which therefore has some obvious and some subtle differences to how these issues are reported via these international news corporations, which are essentially owned by less than a handful of people. Less than a handful of people. But here we go. I've got a guest here. He's now a familiar face, okay? A learned African man. A learned man, if you like. A learned man. Wise man. Someone we can listen to and receive his view of what is happening today, not yesterday, actually happening today. Because I'm showing you, if you had said to me a year ago what is happening today would be happening today, I would have said, no, that could not happen. It's actually happening today. So I'm going to get into this. This is going to be truly another inspirational podcast. Kwabena, you're here again with us. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. How are you feeling today?
Martin, I'm feeling very positive, actually. Very positive. I'm feeling good. And despite the amount of propaganda that's being poured over our heads as to what is happening in the world, we are moving on. We're moving on.
Thank you for that. And that's a very useful intro. Can I just ask you, please, just for the benefit of those who are new viewers to the Motivated Show, can I just ask you just to introduce yourself, say your name and organization, and I may have a follow-up question immediately after that. Just introduce yourself. Yeah.
Yes, I'm Kwabena Denot Nayak. Born in Grenada many years ago. Came to England as a young boy. Did my education in what some politicians have contemptuously called a bog standard comprehensive school, which I felt was a great insult to me as a pupil, the teachers who were dedicated, and my fellow pupils. I then did a variety of jobs, and I was fortunate enough to be recruited by the government of Grenada to work in the High Commission in a variety of roles. During that time, I was appointed to an important post, personally by Maurice Bishop, in his official residence in Grenada at Mount Welldale, where I became the head of trade for Europe, and I attended and was head of delegation for the 6th United Nations Conference in Yugoslavia, I think in 1992 or 93. I can't remember.
Okay.
I can't remember which. It's there in the records.
Yes.
And I have been campaigning for Grenada from about 1972. Not because I'm a fervent nationalist, but I think that Grenada is a microcosm of the fate experienced by people of African descent, kidnapped from the continent and trafficked across the Atlantic into purgatory.
Yes.
And also for all of the poor people, white and whatever color, who have had to suffer the purgatory of being kept down. That is my thing. Mhm,
Thank you. Thank you. You mentioned Moorish Bishop, of course, the former leader
mhm.
of Grenada, um, who experienced the dastardly hands of American imperialism. Okay. But I've had the pleasure of listening and viewing some of his speeches, and I must say, it is truly a remarkable personality, a remarkable person. But you knew him personally. Can you share with us maybe a compelling quality of the late Moorish bishop that might inspire particularly young people who are watching this? Give us a quality he possessed that it was most compelling in your experience.
Qualities,
Yeah.
qualities.
Oh, indeed. Forgive
Yes,
me. You're
because
quite right. Yes.
um, he was honest.
Mm-hmm.
He was courageous.
Mm-hmm.
He led a government that was relatively efficient,
Yes.
and he was immensely articulate. Just dealing with the articulacy of Morris Bishop, I
Mm-hmm.
literally could listen to Morris Bishop read the telephone directory. For those who are too old, there used to be something called a telephone directory where if you wanted to find out a number, you had to look through some pages and so on. But that's for you to find out.
Right.
Efficient in the sense that the government he led, the People's Revolutionary Government of Grenada, in 4 years achieved what many of the governments of the Caribbean have yet to achieve. That's how
Yeah.
efficient it was. He was
Right.
courageous in the sense that he knew that as a leader that is challenging the most powerful country on the earth,
Mm-hmm.
there is a likelihood of immense harm, personally, or death. And Morris, nevertheless, did not keep quiet because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And he was honest. The leaders of the revolution were honest because when the Americans invaded and captured Grenada, they attempted to put out some propaganda stating that all of them were corrupt. And they were
Mm-hmm.
told by local supporters of the invasion, no, don't do that, because no one will believe you thereafter. It's not true. And up to now,
Mm.
if America says could have found secret accounts, they would have published them. So Morris was all of those things. I think for me, his articulation, he was great.
Yes. I agree with you. Key words there are honest, courageous, uh, not say articulate, but a charismatic orator. It might be,
Mhm.
if I may use, yes, a
Uh,
charismatic
he was
orator.
also very handsome.
Oh,
He was a very handsome, and it sort of made
yes,
you sort of a bit jealous. I mean, this guy, he's
yes,
he's
all
too
those
good looking.
qualities.
Yes,
Yes.
we should have
Uh,
ugly leaders.
and for the youngsters and others, is someone that they should study. His life is worth studying. Yep, he had good morals.
There are thousands of videos across
Mm,
the internet,
mhm,
especially on YouTube. The one I would recommend is his "We Are in Nobody's Backyard," which I think was delivered at
mm,
Hunter College in
mm,
New York, I think,
mhm,
where it is inspiring. It is inspiring. Yeah, he says to
mm.
America, "We're in nobody's backyard." You're saying that's your backyard? No, that's not your backyard. We're in nobody's backyard, and
Well
and
said.
that was, you know, mhm.
Yes, well said. In other words, this so-called Monroe doctrine, where America assumes that any country in the Americas is part of its backyard, is
Mhm.
really an affront to those sovereign nations, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Mhm,
It's like me saying to you, "Why are you in my, this where your house is? That's mine. I can
mm.
come in and do whatever I want.
At
I can
any
pick up
time.
the flowers. I can have a barbecue, and you can't do anything about it." I think you would have some choice words for me.
I may have even beyond words, I have to say, just for the record.
Okay.
Hmm. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for that response. It does help us better understand and appreciate the magnificent that was Moorish Bishop, wasn't. Thank you. Thank you. But I need to hasten into the issue of the day. Okay, and that's, of course, what we've seen over the past week or so, American action in Venezuela and indeed on the high seas, okay, which is all centered around supposedly narcotics, okay. So I'm going to ask you the question direct. This is the first question directly, because this is the question I know on most people's lips. What evidence did the Americans share with the world to confirm that Venezuela is a wholesale transporting drugs into United States of America?
None.
Pardon?
None.
What would be none?
None. Well, Martin, if you've seen any evidence, please send me the link and I'll have a look. Before Trump went on this particular line, the government of the United States, through its Coast Guard and the Royal Navy and the maritime forces of a number of Caribbean and Central American countries, had been engaged in a campaign of drug interdiction across the Caribbean seas. And this has netted, in some cases, several thousand tons of drugs over the years, and has stopped and captured these small go-faster boats that were shipping drugs from one island to the other, from one territory to the other.
But from Venezuela?
Sorry?
But what about Venezuela, though? Because there's all the fussing about Venezuela. You mean I can it be none? There must be some. Come on now.
Well, what Trump is doing is engaging in a show. Okay, so you have the largest United States warship, the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier. You have quite a few United States maritime assets, all hunting down these drug smugglers. And you have seen live on TV the murder of people on fast boats.
Hold on. Before you go to those boats, make sure I want to just address the issue of the evidence.
None.
I have to admit, I can't find the evidence, and I hope you, being a wise, learned man, would have the evidence. Are you saying there is no evidence in the public domain that confirmed that Venezuela is a wholesale supplier from narcotics to the United States?
If I'll say it again, I'll say it 1,000 times. There is absolutely no evidence that anyone in Venezuela, in the government of Venezuela, is engaged in the large-scale transportation of drugs from point A into the United States. The point I was going to make is that the United States has the asset to interdict these fast boats. No matter how fast they can go, they cannot go faster than a helicopter. They can interdict them, capture the occupants and any contents that's on board. They haven't. Okay. What they have done is they've murdered them, right? Because there isn't any. If there was, you would see these bags that you see on YouTube of all of the drugs being taken into a warehouse and so on.
Absolutely.
There isn't. There is actually yes. So there isn't, and we're going to come on later.
Forgive me for interrupting again. I'm very disturbed by this. I was pretty sure you, Governor, the learned man, would present the evidence that the Americans put in the public domain, that there is clear evidence that that Venezuelans are transporting in wholesale quantums narcotics to the United States, and you're emphatically saying that there's nothing in the public domain that will confirm that this is so. And your simple answer to me is no.
Correct. Correct.
Before you go on, I don't want you to go any more because that's a very clear, unambiguous response. And I must say, I looked and I couldn't find it either. But I just assumed that you had the information. Can I just, before you go to the boats, because I'm going to come to the boat in a moment, I will just ask another question before you come to the boats. I want to ask the question: in the United States, are Venezuelan drug criminals overly represented in American prison? Because maybe that's the reason why they're doing what they're doing. Are they overly represented in American prisons?
No. So it
Another
means
no.
that they're not.
You can't be saying no again. Come on, come on.
It means that either the drug smugglers from Venezuela are so clever that they've managed to avoid detection by the Drug Enforcement Agency, by the American National Security Agency, by the United States Coast Guard,
Uh-huh.
by the various aircrafts that monitor very closely the Caribbean Sea,
Yep.
and are not being caught. And so they're not in prison. So maybe that is one of the excuses. Or maybe another one is that if you say that those engaged in drug smuggling are likely to be represented as a proportion of the prison population of America based upon their particular territory's role in drug smuggling, and maybe the Venezuelans are not smuggling huge quantities of drugs into America. But let's be fair. Almost every country in the world has drugs passing through it to go on to third countries, including.
Yeah. Okay.
I would be surprised beyond measure that no drugs are coming into Venezuela and are then being shipped elsewhere. But the picture being presented by the Trump administration is that Maduro has almost got a warehouse at the back of the presidential palace, or had a warehouse at the back of the presidential palace, where all the drugs are being stashed and taken down to the docks and being sent on these small pirogues to America. No, that's not the case.
I'm finding what you're saying almost incredulous, though. I'm finding what you're saying almost incredulous. The Americans are spending tens of millions of dollars per day in the naval exercise across the Caribbean Sea. I understand it's more than $20 million per day in one of these ships they've got out there, and they've got many ships out there. They're spending a national fortune. They must have there must be some Venezuelans must be transporting the narcotics in wholesale volume. They must have overly represented Venezuelans in American prisons. That must be the evidence base upon which the Americans are pursuing this stratagem, this policy. You're not going to say no again, are you?
If you accept my thesis that the proportion of those in prison represents the proportion of those countries that are engaged in the importation of drugs into the United States, then I would be unsurprised to find that the largest number of foreign nationals in prison in the United States are from Mexico, followed perhaps by those from Colombia, followed by those from Bolivia, and then sundry others. The largest number engaged in drug trafficking, I would pose, are Americans who are engaged in drug trafficking across state and in the importation. Okay, there are numerous examples of this. I would say that if you have any Venezuelans in American prisons, they are there for ordinary crimes in the main, and now with the sweep conducted by the ICE agents, probably awaiting deportation to Venezuela.
I'm just, whilst you were talking, I'm just looking it up now. I can see that Venezuelans overall are less than 0.25% of prisoners in the United States, less than 0.25% for all crime, but not forget about drugs.
Yes. And I am sure that Trump's own agency, the Drug Enforcement Agency, will inform him and us that the amount of drugs smuggled via Venezuela is minuscule. And I think there is a UN agency that also says that the quantity of drugs smuggled via Venezuela is minuscule. Now, How is it that
Wow.
a government department of Trump's is unable to verify the quantity of drugs that are smuggled into America being of great quantities? Could it be that they're true, that they're correct, that Venezuela is not engaged in large-scale drug smuggling into the United States? And I think that is the case.
All right, all right. But I must say, I understand that Venezuela is what, about 1,700 kilometers, or about 1,000 miles from America. Okay.
Mhm.
Now the boats intercepted by America. Uh, are you aware of if they've seized drugs from those boats, and how much would the American military be putting on show that they've captured these boats and captured all these drugs? Do you know what the quantum the Americans have captured so far?
Again, my answer is nil. I'm
Nil.
sorry to use the N letter. No, nil, nada, and so on.
That doesn't make any
Look at those.
sense. They're
Look at those
spending
boats.
tens of millions of dollars per day on these using their navies in order to intercept these vessels, and you're telling me that after all that money, that national fortune, that is zero amount of drugs has been seized by this interdiction.
From
Go
from
ahead.
this interdiction,
Mhm.
yes. As I said earlier, previously, the pre-existing anti-drugs operation in the Caribbean seized hundreds, if not thousands, of tons of drugs over the years. But this now is presented as a new picture. It is focused on Venezuela. None. We have seen probably something like 80 people being killed, being murdered, I would claim, by very, very televisual attacks on them. And no drugs have been recovered. You would have thought that a boat that has been blown up, the Americans would immediately send a team of divers there. They would jump out of the helicopters in their scuba gear, seize the drugs before they sank to the bottom of the ocean, take them on board the helicopter, and present them as evidence.
Yes.
As you
Yes.
see in
Yes.
these drug busts, both in
Absolutely.
Britain
Yes.
and in America. No, not at all. Somehow, in the attacking and the destruction of these boats, it seems that no drugs have been found. There have been cases where I think 2 people survived the attack,
Okay.
and
And they're in prison now, are
after,
they? Are they in prison?
no, no,
Oh,
they
where are they?
were picked up, taken on board an American ship, and then sent back to their country of origin. You would have thought that if you were part of the crew of a drug smuggling boat, you're going to end up in San Quentin or Sing Sing or whatever prison that is famous in America. No, because there would be an embarrassment. There would be an embarrassment. They would be asked, well, where were you taking these drugs from? Where were you taking these drugs to? Were members of the Venezuelan government involved? And they would say, no, absolutely not. So Hesketh, the Minister of War, the American Minister of War, has given instructions that where there are people alive after their boat has been blown to smithereens, they must be killed. He has said this.
Killed.
Absolutely. He has said this. He has said, go in and kill them all. Now, these are people without any conscience. These are people with no fear of the legal consequences of their action. You are the American sailors and air people that are doing this in the knowledge that what they're doing is illegal, but they don't care. Now, no doubt some of these people may have been engaged in drug trafficking. We do not know. A number of Trinidadians have been killed, murdered on the high seas. No consequence. No consequence for the American sailors. No consequence for the American air crew. No consequence for the senior members of the American government. And yet they
Wow.
go to church every Sunday professing their Christianity.
I'm almost speechless to what I believe you have said, and myself, the audience have heard you, and evidence seems to bear you out. That in fact, the Americans, despite the fact they're spending tens of millions of dollars per day with the size of their naval fleet off the coast of Venezuela, okay, when they identify a potential Venezuelan vessel, I say vessel, it's a small boat, okay,
Small boats.
they summarily destroy them. They use their high technology bombs and destroy these small vessels,
Yes.
killing all on board. And if
Murdering.
someone is fortunate enough to survive such a horrific attack, they may be picked up and sent back immediately to Venezuela.
They're not killed. They're murdered.
They're
They are
murdered
murdered
on the high seas.
on the high seas. Fodder
Oh my
only
gosh!
for television to show to his credulous supporters that Trump is a strong man. You're a strong
Strong?
man,
Ugh.
killing people on the high seas, murdering them on the high seas. No, not at all. And with the orders given by Hesketh, there will be no survivors now.
So I'm just
Okay.
checking up now, just making sure what we've just said is correct, and I'm agreeing with
Go
you.
ahead.
There were no prisoners, there were no quantum
be.
drugs being
Mhm.
seized, and the boats are being summarily destroyed even
Yes.
before they've been boarded and investigated.
Yes.
Wow! And
Yeah.
the Americans are getting away with that. That's murder on the high seas.
Yes.
That's almost pirate behavior. This is the type of behavior that lands countries in the Hague for war crimes.
Worse than pirate behavior. At least when you were a victim of piracy, you were ransomed, you were kept
Indeed.
alive, and you were exchanged for money and gold. Or you became, whether you liked it or not, part of the crew. Okay?
Wow.
Now, the
I have to
issue
say,
that you asked, you
of course,
mentioned
yes.
distance of 1,700, almost 1,800 kilometers
yes,
from
1,000
Venezuela.
miles. Yes, yes.
Those boats, if you look at them, they would have to have enormous fuel tanks, probably carrying another boat behind it loaded with fuel to go from Venezuela to Florida or into
Right.
Texas. Not the case. These are boats, some of which may be used to smuggle drugs somewhere, but not across the Caribbean Sea. Not at all. Okay? These are
Good
boats
point.
that would have
Good
trouble going to France and coming back. Okay? Much less going across the Atlantic. It's going across the Caribbean Sea.
I understand. In other words, it's highly unlikely that these boats could be used for the purposes which are suggested by the Americans. So we're all just being lied to because all the evidence is pretty clear. Otherwise, we would have abundant evidence by now. The American taxpayer are being fleeced, in other words.
Well, here it is. The Drug Enforcement Agency, an agency of the United States government, has said that Venezuela's role in importing drugs into America is minuscule.
Yes.
Yet, this whole picture, this whole panoply, this whole play has been presented to us. Now, what happens, and I will say to our audience, is this. We tend not to, once we have got information, to seek other sources of that information to verify whether it is correct or not. It's a normal condition. If I hear something that's happening in Botswana, I don't go and check and see if it's true. Oh, that's happening in Botswana. This is really great. Or it is terrible. And that's it. It's only when I get involved in issues, for example, around Botswana, I would say, this doesn't seem to be true. It doesn't make sense. So no one is going to go and challenge what Trump, J.D. Vance, Hesketh, Pam Bondi, and all of these other characters or caricatures are saying, because it requires us going on the internet and having a look
And
at the
doing
Drug
research.
Enforcement Agency's annual report and the United Nations annual report on drug trafficking across the globe. And we don't do that. And even if we did, what would happen is Trump would come on and tell you some cockamamie story, and you would immediately, like I do, I do it as well, you immediately forget that there is evidence that this is not so, because it is more effective.
Yes.
The German propaganda minister, Goebbels, said this: you tell a lie, and you tell a lie, and you keep telling the lie, and it becomes the truth. And we are told that President Maduro, sitting on the world's largest reserves of oil, has got a side hustle importing drugs into America. And you say, well, why?
That
Why
seems
doesn't he just
ridiculous.
pump more oil? He has to have a side hustle. Is pumping oil not as profitable as we thought? It's all nonsense.
All right. Let me ask another question in that case. In the past few days, I understand 2 oil tankers have been seized by the American Navy. Now, my first question is, what are the legal basis for these seizures by the American Navy? Can they do that legally on the high seas?
I don't know. You will have to ask the Ministry of Defense of the United Kingdom government, or the appropriate ministry of the United States government. So I don't know whether it is actually legal. I am probably doubtful, based upon the behavior of America up to date. The history of this is that following the Russian, and some would say invasion, some would say preemptive action, whatever, I'm not going to go down that route, in Ukraine, Russia was sanctioned, and Russian products were prevented from coming into other countries. This sanction is not universally applied, because numerous other countries import Russian products, including huge quantities of oil.
Yes.
The
Including the United States, I might add, and Europe import Russian oil, which is a curious.
there are certain anomalies. If you recollect, Germany was going to import huge quantities of Russian liquid gas. And someone blew up the pipeline. Had they not blown it up, Germany would now be importing that gas, because it's essential for German industry.
Yes.
So anyone engaged in carrying out oil transportation on behalf of the Russian government, and in this case on behalf of the Venezuelan government, they are going to have their assets seized. In this case, the 2 ships the many ships, the 1 ship that has now been seized off the coast of Northern Ireland, between Northern Ireland and Iceland, is apparently a Russian ship. So as part of the sanctions regime, that ship will be seized and taken. As I said, whether it is legal or not, I am not sure. It will
but I
be
understand
legal.
one is aimed for one of the ships is, of course, supplying oil to China. China clearly is not a sanctioned country. That cannot be legal, can it? You can't just stop a ship on the high seas going off to another country. You can't just do that, can you?
As a youngster, when you were at school, Martin, did you ever use the word Shazam?
Oh yes, magic. Yes.
And what happens is America promulgates a law that says that if you do this particular action, it is illegal. And we give ourselves the power to enforce that law wherever you may have done it. Shazam! It becomes illegal for anyone to ship Venezuelan oil. And so Venezuelan oil is shipped out, And in order to starve the Venezuelan people of currency by which they can buy other things, you seize the ship, you seize the oil. Remember, Trump says that when he seized a couple of ships, what are you going to do with the oil? Oh, we're going to sell it, he said, and we're going to keep the money. So
Wow.
what they do. And so, as far as United States jurisprudence is concerned, what they're doing is legal. The only time that I believe there is universal legality is when a resolution is passed by the United Nations through the appropriate channels. And if that's the case, there is unity amongst the United Nations countries and so on. However, by passing this by passing this law in America that Russian assets are subject to sanctions, it gives the United States government cover. Okay, whether that cover can be challenged, I do not know, because the United States may turn around and say, "Well, we don't recognize your jurisdiction, so you can get lost." But countries such as China and India are purchasing huge quantities of Russian assets and Venezuelan oil.
I understand that more than 90% of Venezuelan oil is going into China. I must say, the Chinese, I understand, have expressed their serious concerns about American actions, which of course they profoundly disagree with. And if the Americans are allowed to get away with this, it most certainly destabilize the current world order, in a negative way, I might add. It'd be interesting to hear from the American people what they have to say about this, because clearly this is not America being strong. This is America being foolish in so many ways. And that's a considered opinion, a personal opinion based upon the evidence that is placed before us, that Americans have taken upon themselves to engage in behavior that interferes with trade between two countries for their own political reasons. And that's extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. It can only lead to a poor outcome, I would assert. But thank you for that clarification. But I was convinced that there must be some legal basis to this. And what you're really saying is that you're unsure, but the evidence suggests that there may be a legal basis in relation to Russia, although I still consider that to be dubious. But certainly any other country, such as China, which is where the majority of the Venezuelan oil is sent, there cannot be this type of interdiction occurring because it's interfering with free trade.
You have two further points to consider. The point that you made is the interdiction interfering with free trade across the globe. If every country decided that they had a beef with another country, and what they were going to do is they're going to go out and seize their ship or seize their aircraft, or not allow their aircraft to fly over their land or whatever, you're going to have some degree of chaos. And this is not going to be good for us. There's also a more fundamental question, which is America spends trillions on its armed forces. And the principal purpose of the armed forces is to induce fear, and as you have mentioned, I think, meekness into the thinking of others. But if you've spent all of this money and they're not meek or fearful, you've wasted a lot of money. And so, in a way,
I'm going to come to that, if I may. I'm going to come to the psychological impact in a moment. I did want to ask another more practical question about Venezuela. Am I correct in saying that Venezuela has the world's largest oil reserve? I believe of more than 300 billion barrels of oil is in the ground. I think that's about that figure. Is that right?
Yes. I've changed my answer that I normally give to you and say yes. Not no, but yes. Venezuela has more oil than Saudi Arabia, more oil than Qatar, more oil than Kuwait.
I'll look it up
has the
now while you're
largest,
speaking. I'll look it up now. Go ahead. Yeah.
okay, it has the largest reserves of oil in the world. And if the Venezuelan people were not subject to sanctions, then almost every Venezuelan would have a very good standard of living. But unfortunately, we're faced with this problem of sanctions and attack on Venezuela.
Thank you. I've just looked it up, and yes, I was right. More than 300 billion barrels of oil,
350 billion.
50, there you are, of
Mm.
oil in Venezuela's known oil reserves. Next one down the line, it's Saudi Arabia at 297 billion barrels of oil. Third, I gather, is Iran at 157 billion barrels, followed by, forgive me, Canada at 168 billion barrels, and Iraq at 145, Russia at 107, and United States just at 68 billion barrels of oil.
Mm-hmm.
So you could see Venezuela is the oil champion of the world. It has the largest known reserves, but they've generally been underdeveloped.
Yes.
Most of the world oil is coming from Saudi Arabia because of the agreement between the US and Saudi Arabia. So
Yes.
one presume they deliberately undermine the development of Venezuelan oil in order to ensure that oil prices remain high.
Correct.
Our
But
villainous.
also, but also,
Sorry, yes.
the agreement between the United States and the Saudi government, I think in the 50s or 60s, was that oil shall be traded in dollars.
In dollars.
So if you wish to purchase oil, you have to have dollars, which meant that if your currency was, say, the Jamaican dollar, that's no good. The Saudis don't want that for their oil.
Yes.
You have to get US
American
dollars.
Yes.
So
yes.
your currency would then have to be given to the US to get that US dollars to then pay the Saudis. Of course, all of that happens electronically,
Yes.
which meant that it gives America, or gave America, a great deal of leverage and also the ability to print its own money and use it to buy other people's stuff. Obviously, every country prints their own money for use internally, but the American dollar is the international currency and still is, which gives huge, huge resources to the United States.
And you make such an excellent point. In other words, it's a conspiracy to maintain high prices and, of course, to shore up the American economy.
Correct.
In other words,
Absolutely
it was a conspiracy. I've just found some details on the output by comparison. So Venezuela was managing to pump out just under 1 million barrels of oil, okay, whereas compared to Saudi Arabia,
per day,
yes, whereas Saudi Arabia, it's 10 million barrels. Can you imagine? So 10 times more. And that's where the Americans were gaining the advantage because, as you say, the petrodollar, or every country in the world had to purchase dollars in order to buy this oil.
Mm-hmm.
It's a conspiracy, American conspiracy. That's why we're all suffering the cost of living crisis because of the American contrived world order. Oh my dear. Isn't that we're discovering this as we go along in this particular podcast? It truly is an eye opener.
These are the things that we really do not think about. They're hidden.
Mm-hmm.
They're hidden behind reports of financial newspapers or spreadsheets of oil trading companies and so on. But the world is based currently on the dollar, which means that if you were to have tried to do your own thing, you could be undermined by the United States financial machinery. So this is beneficial in great amounts to the United States. Absolutely beneficial. They will be very, very unhappy. One of the things I read as I was preparing for this meeting is that the Venezuelans were taking Chinese currency in exchange for their oil.
Oh,
And
right.
this
Not
was
American currency. Oh, yeah.
not American currency,
Uh-huh.
which means obviously they're going to buy Chinese goods because they've got Chinese currency.
Yes.
Or if the BRICS arrangement takes place, they can exchange it for other currencies to buy goods from those people, which totally cuts out America. Okay, totally cuts out America. And that is threatening to America.
I suppose the 47th president in his inauguration made it clear it was America first. So therefore, bugger anyone else, in effect. And this is it manifest in so many ways. Although I imagine the previous presidents have also conspired in order to ensure this world order continues. But this particular president is just simply taking it to another level. Clearly, this is a terrible situation because I've seen reports of this president suggesting that America wants to take control of Venezuela oil reserves. How dare they, huh? Am I right in being aghast by their arrogance?
I don't know. I would probably say to you, it was always thus. And Trump was not so polite about it. Previous presidents, including Obama, would have dressed it up as trade, development. We're going to engage in joint partnerships with the people of Gabon, or all of that material that's in Malaysia. We would like an agreement with the Malaysian government to get a fair price for it, and so on and so forth. But at the end of that was a very large stick that if you didn't give it, something would happen to you. And you look at the history of American intervention in South America, in the Southern Cone, where the resources were taken. The Monroe Doctrine came into effect in the 1920s, although it was promulgated in the 1820s. When it was promulgated, it was a tiny part of Monroe's inaugural speech. In the 1920s, I think under Harding, President Harding, it was used to justify a variety of invasions into what became known as banana republics. That is,
so cool.
These invasions were done at the behest of the United Fruit Company of America, because the local government, the government of the various countries, Honduras, Costa Rica, and so on, they had the temerity to say, well, we don't want to pay a cent for a pound of bananas. We would like the true price of it, which is 3 cents.
Absolutely.
And of course, the United Fruit Company said no. So America, if you like, is maybe in a pitiful situation, which is like a great white shark. It has to keep eating, and it cannot stop. It cannot change, and that is a terrible thing for a country to be in. But here we are,
Can I just take us further? Could I also understand, again, Venezuela is such a naturally rich country. It has significant quantities of rare earth minerals, what I hear a lot about for our technological age. Significant reserves of gold and silver, and many other minerals as well. But there's certainly significant amounts of gold and silver. So those three descriptors I've given, rare earth minerals, gold, and silver, make Venezuela an incredibly rich country. And now the Americans are now seeking to control its natural resources. I'm almost ashamed to have said that I support America in so many ways, but as I continue with these podcasts, I'm compelled to study, to research, and to see the world for what it actually is, as opposed to the rose-tinted glasses created by the propaganda machines, which is these big media companies. Okay, I'm disgusted. Am I right to be disgusted, Kwamina?
Well, just what we discussed a few moments ago. America has created over the years an image of itself which enables its people to bask in their self-glory. Because if America was to go around and say, well, we're thieves, we're rapists, we're killers, it doesn't make for a very good image of yourself as a country. It doesn't. You would be very, very unhappy knowing that your country is going around killing and murdering. So America went into Iraq to save the Kurds. It went into Iraq to save the Marsh Arabs. It went into Iraq to ensure that the Shia were given the same rights to worship and so on. Yes, that's what it was. It's gone into Ukraine in order to save the Ukrainians from the tyranny of Russian boots on the ground. It went into Libya in order to save Libyan people from the wrath of Gaddafi, who, it was claimed by US propaganda, had threatened to go from house to house and kill everyone. Which, by the way, when we talk about Grenada sometime in the future, I will relate the same thing. So America goes around the world telling its friends and its own people, this is what we do. This is the same America that had no compunction in dropping a bomb on Nagasaki, killing 70,000 people straight away and 100,000 people subsequently, and on Hiroshima that killed, I think, 90,000, and so on and so forth. The difference is that Trump is saying, forget all that stuff, all of that nice stuff. This is what we're going to do. And this is what it has always been. Thus, you can see the shock in the faces of Americans on TV, on YouTube, when Trump says, yeah, we're going to kill those people in the boats. What? What are you doing? But that's what they have always done. Okay? That's what they do. The shark cannot stop eating. It has to eat. Mhm.
I say again, as I started these podcasts, and I therefore had to continue not only read the newspaper, but actually study the facts. It is each time I do this, it appears that I'm criticizing United States of America, and I've got family there, and so on and so on. And I don't want to, but
Got family too.
there you
Got
go.
family in the States. I've been to the United States. It's been fantastic. It has been wonderful. Yeah. But
But the reality is, though, the reality of that country, it's vulgar, utterly vulgar, and it is not helping to enabling the world to find peace, to share the prosperity across all humans, not just the less than 4% of the world, which is the American population. It is disgusting.
it is worse.
I'm disgusted. I am disgusted.
It is worse than that. It is worse than that, Martin. Which is, I said to you, and you will experience it. We have relatives in the United States.
Yeah.
And those relatives have introduced us to their white neighbors, their Puerto Rican friends, those that they've married into from Honduras and so on. And the majority of these people, 99.9%, even some of the people who support Trump, if not a majority of the people who support Trump, they are honest, hardworking, and God-fearing people.
They are.
That money that is being eaten up by the shark that the United States is not going to them. The American people as a whole are suffering to a point where you'd think you were looking at a third world country, where there are counties, large areas about the size of London, where there are no medical facilities.
That's right. I
Right? So
understand.
forget that you have to
Richest
pay.
country in the world.
Yes, forget that you have to pay for your medication and medical services, or you need to have insurance. They haven't got the facilities there to exercise that right to pay for your medical care.
Yeah.
It is funneled into the pockets of people like Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, and all of those that were standing behind Trump during his second inauguration. That's where the money is going. The majority of people that I speak to in America would like to believe the story of America, that we are fair, we go around and we help people, we are good Christians, Muslims, Jews, this is who we are, but they've been fed this story. And I wish that somehow there could be a revolution in America where the wealth that America can generate is increased tenfold and shared amongst the poorer people of the world. I just wish for that. I don't want the destruction of America.
And this is not pie in the sky. And your words are not pie in the sky.
It's
not pie in the sky.
No,
Yeah.
it's not a pie in the sky. If Grenada could achieve in 4 years what some countries that have had independence since the 1960s cannot achieve up to now,
Yes,
it is possible.
I agree with
Grenadians,
you.
I mean, if I was a Grenadian, I would like to think that we're extra smart, but we're not that smart. So, America, change, share your wealth, export your education, and so on. Sorry,
but it's okay, Kwame. But the point you're making is spot on. This point but actually, the bulk of the wealth in America is held by less than 1% of the population.
Not even as much as 1%.
Forgive me, you're quite right. A tenth of 1%. You're quite right. It's a handful or two handful of gentlemen, they're all men in the United States. And it's important as we draw that comparison. And you mentioned Libya earlier on. And there was a time which I completely absorbed lock, stock, and barrel, all the propaganda until I did the research. Now, Gaddafi, like any leader, wasn't perfect. That's for sure. That's for sure. But what he actually achieved on the ground, reported by numerous independent agencies, I say is commendable. And I'm pretty sure every American, who would not part that less than 1%, would want what he achieved for Libya. Just read out let me just read out a few of what he achieved, if I may. In 1969, he ended the King Idris pro-Western monarchy and expelled the foreign military bases from the country, asserting Libyan sovereignty for the first time since independence. So this is one of his first acts, to get rid of the old Western monarchy and to expel foreign military bases in the country. Secondly, he nationalized the oil industry, took control from foreign corporations, massively increasing state revenue and redirecting wealth to national development. Third, he transformed Libya into one of Africa's most developed states. By the 2000, Libya had Africa's highest human development index. Can you imagine the highest, with low poverty and strong social indicators? In other words, high levels of satisfaction amongst the people. Fourthly, free education at all levels. Free education at all levels. In other words, it paid for your taxes, in other words. Free education at all levels. Education from primary school to university was free. Literacy rose from 25% in 1969 to over 80% by the time of the American or so-called NATO invasion of the country. Can you imagine? He introduced free universal healthcare. It's not determined by your ability to pay. It was paid for through the state, by the state. In other words, not like in America, you've got to have tens of millions of pounds of reasonable healthcare service. Here, it was paid for through the state. Can you imagine? Healthcare was state funded, including overseas treatment if services were not available locally. In other words, if there's a specialist doctor in Britain, yep, the state will pay for that Libyan to come to Britain, come to London, and receive that healthcare service, paid for by the Libyan government. Can you imagine? Who would want that? Go on. Eliminated extreme poverty, housing, electricity subsidies, food price controls, and guaranteed state support dramatically reduce homelessness and hunger in that country. Can you imagine? Housing, electricity was subsidized, and food price control to ensure it's always affordable. Here in Britain, you and I are suffering with the cost of living crisis. Things cost so much we can barely cope. Can you imagine? Another one of his project, the Great Man-Made River Project. He built the world's largest irrigation project, supplying water from the Sahara, in other words, the underground aquifers, as it were, to the cities, and it brought genuine advancement in their local agriculture. Incredible. Another one that I would commend him for, promoted women's education and workforce participation, expanded women's access to education, professions, and the military. And I must say, for a country of that nature, to include women to that extent was truly forward-thinking. He bankrolled the Organization of African Unity so that the African nations across Africa could come together, okay, and discuss matters of strategic importance to Africa and develop that economic market for all African states. And I'll get on to Goldina later on. And of course, naturally, he challenged Western financial and military dominance in Africa by advocating for a Pan-African Africa, in other words, a united Africa. Wow. Who would not have wanted those? I'm pretty sure most Americans listening to this would want their education and healthcare to be funded via the federal government, therefore paid for through your taxes, so that you don't have to struggle or bankrupt yourself just to get a good healthcare or indeed a good education for your children. Over to you, Kwabena. Yeah.
Well, let's look at Libya now.
Let's
look at Libya now. Hillary Clinton achieved what she set out. And as I said, all that Trump is doing has been done before, but it was done nicer before. In other words, we're not going in there to mash up what they've done because they represent a threat to our interest. We're going there because Gaddafi has threatened to go from house to house and slaughter every family in Tripoli. No. I had experience of Libya. I visited Libya. I was at a meeting in which Gaddafi spoke. I was at a meeting in which Gaddafi awarded a prize of, I think, something like $200,000 to the son, to Zinzi Mandela, and also money to Burkina Faso, as it then was under the previous revolutionary
I think it might have been called Upper Volta at that point. Yes.
It may have been. No, it may have been. It may have been. But I think it was Sankara. They got money.
Oh, okay.
Now, I got to know of Libya because I was working in the High Commission and I'd become this very important person. And one of my jobs was to oversee the building of 3 fast motor patrol boats that would protect our fisheries and would seize Venezuelan fishing boats that were fishing in our territorial waters, which we did. Okay? And the Libyans had given us a gift of these boats. At the time, I think they cost £250,000 each. Don't know what it would be now.
Right.
They were not armed. They were just fast patrol boats that would come up on a ship and would ask for their papers. Those fishing boats were being built in a British company's yard in Southampton, a company called Ferry Marine, and were then deployed in Grenada. And I had the fortune to travel on those boats when they went out on patrol. And this was very helpful to us because it secured the fish for our fisher folk, which meant that you couldn't come and steal our fish and then sell it abroad in competition with our own fisher folk and so on.
Yes.
The government of Grenada, I understand, were given a soft loan of $40 million to help in the completion of the building of our international airport, the airport that I've traveled through recently.
Right.
And so Libya, well, yes, again, let us be clear. You're talking about politics, and politics isn't a nice game. And if you are seeking to engage in activities which threaten the existing political system and threaten them outside of the rules of that political system, you're going to have problems. You are going to have problems.
It's the economy. This is economics, or is it economics or politics that we're discussing here?
I'm talking about the politics. In other words, there would have been situations where the government of Libya had dealt with people that wouldn't have been dealt with in the system that we have in this country. Let me give you the comparison with Grenada. Grenada extolled, rather the neutral movement in Grenada extolled the virtues of freedom and democracy, which we believed we carried out. Way before the revolution, this is what we said we're going to do. We went into government and we were all very much in favor of all of these things. The United States then embarked on a campaign of assassination and murder, which resulted in the blowing up of a rally in a place called Queen's Park, the murder of 4 people, one of whom was a tourist from England, a Grenadian who was visiting his family, in next to my village. In my visit to Libya, I think the worst thing that Gaddafi did was create boredom. Okay? Because everywhere I went, everyone was doing nothing because they had everything, literally everything. You wanted a car, you could get a car. As you said, you have a very rare medical condition which the Libyan medical system have not yet dealt with. You are flown to wherever that place is, whether it's in China or whether it's in the Soviet Union. Everyone had housing. I saw it. I am not naive. I am not someone that is bamboozled by people. You can say, well, here's all of the good housing. It looks really great. But when you go around the corner, it's hovels and so on. You went wherever you wanted in Libya. Okay? By the way, they've got some excellent beaches, some absolutely fine beaches and so on. So the picture that was painted of Libya is a totally false one. As I hope you're going to mention it, you mentioned it in passing, that Gaddafi's problem, a bit like Maduro's problem, is seeking to undermine the US dollar. That was his major sin. Okay?
Will not be bound by it, indeed. I would use the word we were not born to be bound by what was clearly a cartel that worked against their national interest.
Undermine,
it's okay.
Indicates a policy that is going to attack the United States.
Can I move us? We're staying in Africa, but I wanted to move us away from Libya to countries slightly north and east of Libya, and that's Ethiopia. Okay.
Attack now! Push forward!
Yes, Ethiopia. The second part of that interview will now focus on Ethiopia, the Battle of Adwa. That will be released later today on YouTube at approximately 6 o'clock London time. And I'm assuring you that that part of the interview was outstanding. The facts, the detail, the inspiration that he brought forward, I'm assuring you, is worth watching. Give it 6 o'clock London time, and you'll see it. It will be there available to you all to watch. But that is now placed in your mind. The facts is before you. The facts of the world that we live in. The fact that the cost of living crisis that we're all experiencing is actually a contrived crisis. There is an abundance of energy in the world. Okay, it's simply that certain countries' energy has been underdeveloped, deliberately so. So one country can remain rich and so-called powerful. I'm showing you that is not the way forward. Okay, I'm using diplomatic language now. That is not the way forward. But it has come forward here on the Motivator Show. Our purpose is, I remind you, is of course to provide good quality information, to translate words into action. Once you're inspired, there's a call to action. And remember, in unity is strength. I ask you to reach out the hands of friendship. There you are, the hands of friendship to those you have quarrels with. I ask you to hug those who you have not wanted to hug before, so that we can create greater unity amongst the peoples. Okay, in unity is strength. When you watch the second part of this interview later today, you will appreciate why it has been a powerful expose, truly powerful expose, and it motivated people into action. And where there were quarrels, there is now peace and understanding. And where there was dissatisfaction, there's a determination to create satisfaction. We are all the change makers, as King Kabbalah of the African Continent Unity Party would say, the Africa's true Pan-Africanist party. We are all change makers. Absolutely. You can imagine why the Motivator is so fired up. Hey, I feel so alive to be alive today, to be a part of the change that is obviously happening right across the world. The people are taking control and not allowing themselves to be totally subdued by a handful who have no other interests but themselves. Huh? That's it. No other interest but themselves. But before I go, I just want to remind you that our next podcast will return to that great country of Nigeria, where there are issues there we need to continue to discuss. And we hope also to have a special interview on the issues in Jamaica, particularly in support of schools in Jamaica that have been devastated by Hurricane Melissa. I also would, of course, remind you of the campaign to eradicate FGM, female genital mutilation, from all societies, mostly across Africa and Asia. We want to eradicate female genital mutilation. We must eradicate this heinous practice against women that should not be allowed. And I would hope to speak to men specifically, who support the practice. And I know those men are a little shy. Look, I get it. I could put the details up on the screen. Send a message to us here at the Motivator Show. We'd love to talk to you. And this is what we can do. Let's engage in dialogue, genuine, respectful dialogue. If you wish to speak to the show, speak to me at any time, send a message to our email address, that's the Motivator Show. 501 at gmail.com. Love to speak to men who support FGM. And of course, if you wish to speak to us or reach out to us, that's the email address to use. We'll welcome your interaction with us. If in doubt, ask questions. And if you haven't subscribed or you haven't given us a comment or given us a thumbs up or a reaction of sort, it really does help us to spread the word and tell the YouTube algorithm that the content of this channel is worthy of further distribution. And thank you again for all your support. There you are, all the details there on screen. If in doubt, ask questions. Can I just say in closing, that I know that the issues that we tackle here are quite challenging to absorb, and the desire that we want a very light affair, and I get that, These are issues of fundamental concern that affect not a small number, but vast swathes of peoples across the world. And these are the issues that we need to discuss. But if in doubt, ask questions. And I know there's a lot of information that's been provided during this podcast. This is a recording. It's there available on YouTube and indeed Mixcloud. You can indeed review it at any time and review it at your own pace. Review the content of this transmission at your own pace, but I urge you to do so. You will only be enlivened, empowered by the process. And if you are empowered, you, by virtue of your new state of mind, empower others, because it is infectious. I assure you, it is infectious. The motivator here is speaking, because this is where we translate our words into action, and where success is ours for the taking. Now, don't go away. Go come to our YouTube channel and look at and review our other transmissions. Okay, I'm assuring you find them truly an inspirational review. So I say to you, until the next time, I remain the motivator.
Attack now! Push forward! Attack now! Push forward!